What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner Channel January Transfer Window News Show, which, if I'm honest, probably better named the Gooner Channel January Transfer Window Gossip, Rumour, Nonsense and Fake News. Because we have been linked with so many players, there is little or no chance we've ever really been interested in. But throughout this window, there have at times been players we've linked with where I've dearly hoped there is a grain of truth to it. And I want to cover two of those today, both Paris Saint-Germain players. And I suppose part of the reason for that is that Paris Saint-Germain have ripped up their strategy of buying the most expensive players in the world and creating a Galactico team to reach that Champions League promised land that they so desperately wanted to. It's failed. They've come close, but it didn't work. And in summer, they installed Luis Enrique, and the plan was very much to rebuild the team and build a team rather than a series of superstars. So we saw Neymar going to Saudi Arabia, Messi going to Inter Miami, and Kylian Mbappe letting the club know that he was not planning to extend and would most likely be leaving on a free transfer. Now, when you think about this represents a huge outlay of money with no return whatsoever. And so there is talk that Paris Saint-Germain are looking to make some money wherever they can. The first player that we've been linked with is Gonçalo Ramos. Now, Gonçalo Ramos was a Benfica player last season, played really well, free scoring, and a huge prospect. Somebody that I personally hoped we'd be linked with in summer. It never really transpired. Instead, he went on loan to Paris Saint-Germain with an option to buy at around 60 million. The story is that it was Luis Campos, the sporting advisor to Paris Saint-Germain, who had been chasing Gonçalo Ramos for 2 years and finally got his man, only to have Luis Enrique come in and not feel like he's really the kind of fluid striker he sees as part of his front three attacking. Since joining Paris Saint-Germain, he's had his game time limited, which is what you'd expect for a 22-year-old player who plays in the same position as Kylian Mbappe. He's played 13 times, scored 3 goals, and it's being widely reported that Paris Saint-Germain are looking to cash in on him. There is a huge problem with this story for me, and not least because actually when asked about it, Luis Enrique said that he's a really promising player. We haven't seen the best of him yet, but we haven't really played to his strengths yet. So according to Luis Enrique, he does feel like Ramos is a great player. And here's the big problem, and I've talked about this before. He's technically on loan to Paris Saint-Germain. Now, in November, they enacted the buy clause so that as of the 1st of July, he will be a Paris Saint-Germain player, and they have committed to spending 60 million on him. So is there any chance that they could now not sign him and instead that he could come to us? Well, actually what's being discussed is a potential loan move to Arsenal. So a player on loan at Paris Saint-Germain would then be loaned to Arsenal only to go back to Paris Saint-Germain next season when potentially Mbappe's not there anymore. Do we as Arsenal fans really want a player just for the second half of the season who may or may not score goals? After all, he has only scored 3 in Serie A. I know his game time has been limited, but he's certainly not the kind of player that's definitely going to get in ahead of Gabi Jesus. I think he's an upgrade on Eddie Nketiah, but I don't think he'd be the goal-scoring sensation to win us the Premier League. So I am absolutely certain that this is pure fake news, that we are not in for Gonçalo Ramos. But the second player, now this one I am perhaps optimism born out of the fact that I really want us to sign him. And I'm talking about Javi Simons. 20 years old, 21 in April, a product of La Masia, Barcelona Academy, who he joined at 9 years old. He made the move to Paris Saint-Germain, didn't really get into the side. Then there was talk about him being sold to PSV. Paris Saint-Germain really wanted to loan him. PSV really wanted to sign him. With contract negotiations between Javi Simons and PSG stalling, they decided to sell him, but very intelligently included a €6 million buyback clause. When asked in summer if he would go back to Paris Saint-Germain, before Luis Enrique was installed as manager, Javi Simons said, I don't even know who the manager is. And so there was this glimmer of hope that he might be available and that we might snap him up. And then Paris Saint-Germain very intelligently enacted the buy clause. He did have the option to refuse. He could have chosen not to go back to PSG, but he decided to go. And given that they've brought in people like Ousmane Dembele and Asensio, and Luis Enrique is a great manager, I really thought that we would see Javi Simons playing in that team and showing what he's capable of. But instead, and rather surprisingly, he went out to RB Leipzig. Last season, he was outstanding at PSV. He is an attacking midfielder who can play anywhere in the midfield, as you would expect from a player with his pedigree at La Masia. But last season, he was actually Eredivisie's top goal scorer. Well, joint top goal scorer, 19 goals. So this season, this season has gone just as well at RB Leipzig. The fans have taken to him. And if you want an example of just what he's capable of, watch the Union Berlin game, the third game that Leipzig played this season, where he scores an absolute worldie. Now, I want to stress this. He's not a goal scorer as such. He really is a midfielder. And I'm not sure where he'd play for us, but I love watching him play football. He's quick on the floor. He's quick with a ball. He runs at pace. He's got a great eye for a pass, a beautiful through ball in the same game against Union Berlin. Is there any chance that we're going to do this? Well, it's not inconceivable to me because, PSG bought him for 6 million. His market value at the moment must be something around 50 million. And that would represent a huge net income for a team that is, as I said, looking to balance the books. He isn't just a great footballer, in my opinion. He's somebody who has great personality as well. He's hardworking, friendly. You don't get any of the sense of ego from him that you do with other players. And look, he's done it successfully now at PSV and he's playing brilliantly. He's actually RB Leipzig's best player at the moment. So is there any chance really that PSG are going to terminate his loan to Leipzig and sell him to us for 50 or 60 million? Well, if I'm honest, I just can't see that happening this January transfer window. There's too many moving parts, and also, I don't think we would be the only team that are in for this player. He is versatile, talented, speaks 5 languages, hugely intelligent. He's one of my favourite players around at the moment. I hope there's something to this, but we're really looking at a summer transfer. So they're the 2 big stories for today from me. We have seen continued speculation around Alexander Isak, which I did a video on. If you haven't seen it, please do check it out. Just to be clear, I don't think Isak is the sort of player that any intelligent team would sell, given that he's so hard to replace. He's free scoring in the Premier League. The other story that has been popular over the last few days is Benzema. I know it's hard for me to get my head around that. It just seems to be a sort of tradition now, doesn't it? Every transfer window we're linked with Benzema. Never happens, and I think it's never going to happen. It was falsely reported that he decided he wanted to leave Saudi Arabia. His agent has come out and said absolutely not the case. He is looking to return, but got caught up in air traffic problems. And so the Benzema story's gone away. Ivan Toney now looks set to stay at Brentford. Apparently, he feels like he owes them something. I think it has more to do with the fact no one's really made a bid for him. He's not ruled it out. And of course, he's probably the one name that everybody thinks we should sign. Mikel Arteta in his press conference, though, said that he's happy with the players he's got and doesn't think a striker's coming in. I'm not sure we're going to sign anyone in this transfer window. I've said it so often now. If we do, please let it be some defensive cover. There hasn't been nearly enough speculation linking us with defenders, given how short we are in that department. Hopefully, if there are a couple of deals to be done, and I'm not just talking about Cedric leaving, I'm talking about players coming in, hopefully it will be defenders. But if it's not defenders, much more than Amadou Onana, who I think would be a good player for us, but Javi Simons. If you haven't seen him, check out his highlights reels. Go back and watch some of his games. If you only watch one game he's played, may I suggest it's RB Leipzig versus Union Berlin, the third match day of the Bundesliga. Leipzig are in 4th place. It seems like it would be really harsh to pull out their best play. It seems like it would be really harsh to pull out their best performing player. Not that I'm averse to that. Let's do it if it's possible. But I think this is definitely a long-term interest that we have. And who knows? This summer could be a chance for us to put 50 million in front of PSG, and 44 million net profit in less than a season seems like it might be difficult for them to give up. And provided there isn't stronger competition or some sort of bidding war, this one's possible. Let me know in the comments if either of these 2 players are players you think are likely to come. Or also, please do continue to let me know in the comments who you would like to see come to the Arsenal. And so to wrap up today's transfer news, we are linked with 2 PSG players, neither of whom I think are coming. But that's this January transfer gossip show over and done with for another day. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And later on today, I'll be doing a preview of tomorrow's, let's face it, must win against Crystal Palace. So until then, Be lucky. Lots of love.